It can be shown that there are other criteria for gauging a character's presence in addition to screen time by contrasting Michael Myers' appearance in Halloween Ends with the 1978 version. In the most recent Halloween movie, Michael Myers takes on a much smaller role as Haddonfield's primary serial murderer is replaced by copycat killer Corey Cunningham. Additionally, the final movie of the horror franchise seems to have ended the idea of the Cult of Thorn and its influence on the murderous behavior of both Myers and the new serial killer Corey. So stay tuned for all the need-to-know details that you certainly don't want to miss. Firstly, Michael Myers' screen time in the latest and final film Halloween Ends is vastly different from the OG film that came out in 1978. Why? Well, let's take a look. Due to how little Michael Myers, aka the unstoppable serial killer, appears in the final installment of David Gordon Green's Halloween sequel trilogy, fans were left surprised. Green himself addressed the controversy over Michael's reduced screen time in the new Halloween Ends, telling fans that he was conscious of the risk he was taking by choosing to focus so much on Corey Cunningham, a young outcast played by Rohan Campbell, rather than the masked super killer they are accused of being. The situation could be worse, however. Michael is completely ignored in the infamous Halloween 3 Season of the Witch in favor of a standalone story with evil jack-o'-lantern masks and one very catchy commercial jingle. However, as some Halloween franchise fans have noted, the OG Halloween isn't exactly Michael Myers non-stop either. The length of time the killer spends off-screen in John Carpenter's landmark horror masterpiece may surprise some viewers, and perhaps because of it, Halloween Ends is a fitting homage to the most significant Halloween film of them all. Suppose you've seen John Carpenter's Halloween, which debuted in 1978. In that case, you already know that while the entire film is centered on a killing spree by Haddonfield's least favorite son Michael Myers, much of the focus and storylines is on his victims, including the prototypical final girl Laurie Strode, played by Jamie Lee Curtis, and her friends, as well as Dr. Sam Loomis's, played by Donald Pleasance, who attempt to track Michael down. However, one fan got scientific with it, measuring Michael Myers' overall screen time in the original 1978 movie as 9 minutes 37 seconds. Now compare that to the fans' computation of his screen time in Halloween Ends, which was almost identically as brief, totaling 10 minutes and 55 seconds. Now you'll need to time Halloween and Halloween Ends to verify those numbers for yourself, but even if they're accurate, another aspect must be mentioned. The original Halloween is only an hour and a half long, whereas Halloween Ends has a total runtime of 1 hour and 51 minutes. As a result, Halloween Ends has a substantially lower percentage of Michael Myers than the original. The figures nevertheless warn that the film's greatest killers and monsters aren't usually characterized by their amounts of screen time, but rather by the impact they leave behind every time they are on screen. Speaking of Halloween Ends, the final film seemingly puts an end to the Cult of Thorn theories. Here's how. In other news, Halloween Ends, the final film for the franchise, implicitly alludes to the Cult of Thorn, while denying its inclusion in the canon. Before being completely revealed in 1995's Halloween film, aka The Curse of Michael Myers, the Cult of Thorn was originally hinted at in Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. There were hints that supernatural aspects like the Cult of Thorn would play a role in the most recent entries in the franchise, even though both sequels were revised from David Gordon Green's Halloween remake trilogy. Halloween 6's theatrical release made the Cult of Thorn a key theme, but the producer's cut expanded on the mythology. Druid tribes were supposed to sacrifice a child for possession several decades ago to stop mass deaths within the tribe. On Halloween night, also known as Samhain, that kid would develop supernatural skills and be compelled to murder their family. It was claimed that Michael Myers was sacrificed to the Thorn monster, which would account for his strength and deadly tendencies. It would also perfectly account for his multiple rampages. Terrence Wynn, the head of the cult, who had connections to Smith's Sanitarium and wanted to clone Michael Myers, was later identified as the Man in Black, who had been hinted to in Halloween 5. Even the mark of Thorn on his wrist indicated that Michael was still under the control of the old demonic force. In the end, Michael killed the Man in Black by turning on his own people. Now, it makes a lot of sense that Halloween Ends would make a covert allusion to the Cult of Thorn after the Halloween Kills tease. Halloween Ends avoids the paranormal explanation rather than confirming Michael and Corey's wicked nature as an external force related to long-forgotten Druid folklore. Instead, the movie refers to the evil that Michael and Corey are hiding within them as being infected. Laurie is convinced that Corey in particular is experiencing evil as if it were a disease, whether it has always existed inside or was unleashed in some way. However, it is very interesting to note that Corey cuts his hand severely right around the time he meets Michael Myers. The gash on his hand gets infected as Corey proceeds down the dark path depicted in Halloween Ends, symbolizing the evil taking over his body. Evil seems to be obliterating his body and mind in numerous ways. The Cult of Thorn concept is effectively abandoned by the current canon narrative, which refers to Halloween's evil as an infection. But what do you think? think? Did Halloween Ends put an end to the cult of Thorn? Do you think Corey was also potentially sacrificed as a child, similar to the theory around Myers and the cult? Unfortunately, Halloween Ends was the final movie in the franchise, so we may never know the answers to these questions, but it is still food for thought. Finally, in honor of Halloween Ends being the final film in the popular horror franchise, we have decided to pick the top 3 films out of them all. Now, if you weren't aware, there have been a total of 13 Halloween movies over approximately 45 years. Since 1978, the series has expanded with new films, and Halloween Ends may mark the series' final chapter. So since the franchise has finally ended, we thought we would pick out the top 3 of the entire 13. Now, these are subjective, so if you disagree with our picks, make sure to let us know in the comments below. Let's begin. Coming in third is the most recent of them all, Halloween Ends. The narrative involves Laurie Strode and Michael Myers that has gone on for 45 years, now has sadly come to a close. Although the movie claims that only one will live, viewers will be biting their nails in suspense as to just who that person will be. Halloween Ends attempts a lot, and some people are sad that we didn't see this happen until the final film. Although the movie has divided audiences and critics, it is a strangely thought-provoking conclusion to a decades-long saga that left spectators questioning whether evil has ultimately triumphed or ended for good. In second place is the 2018 Halloween film. After a decade without a sequel, Halloween made a comeback, but not in the way everyone anticipated. Except for the original 1978 film, the movie attempted to revise all the earlier movies. Halloween is a direct sequel to the first John Carpenter film following Laurie Strode and the strained relationships between her daughter and granddaughter. The movie flips the Halloween cliches to make Laurie Strode Michael Myers' hunter. It increases the dread of Michael Myers and welcomes him back to Haddonfield with a slew of well-known murders. And of course, nothing can top the OG Halloween film from 1978. There was no way to top the first Halloween. The movie introduces viewers to slasher cliches that they have come to expect in modern times, such as The Final Girl. The movie is a horror, but it focuses more on the passion for murder than the gory details of the crime. Michael Myers poses a serious threat, and viewers wonder why he acts that way without realizing that he is the pinnacle of evil. To frighten its viewers, the original Halloween movie preys on the youth and innocence of its protagonists and the audience. Michael Myers demonstrates that he is a ruthless and hopeless killer. But do you agree with our picks? Which 3 of the 13 Halloween films would you put at the top? Don't forget to let us know in the comments. And there you have it, everything you need to know about the differing screen times when it comes to Michael Myers between the first and final film, along with the Cult of Thorn concept and how it seems to have disappeared completely from the last film. Did you notice that Myers was appearing less and less as the films continued through the years? What do you think about the Cult of Thorn? Is this the leading cause of Myers and now Corey's deranged behavior? Let us know in the comments. And as always, thank you so much for watching our video.